Hey yo, what is up mates, Aegis Rick here, and this time with a guide on a new system added into the game after the All-in-One Reborn patch. Of course, I'm talking about Seria's new compound system. Now before we begin our discussion, I want to make sure you guys are aware of some terminology we may be throwing around a lot in this video. So I'm just going to put them on the screen for you, and they are all things that can describe an equipment type item. Now if you've taken a glance at that or already know all of this stuff, well then let's just start already. So what is the compound system? Well, it can be considered an upgrade to the old combined system that Seria used to have before the patch. Whereas the combined system would take two gears and create a new one of the same grade, this system instead uses only one piece of gear and items called souls, which are obtained from disassembly to create a brand new item. Using this system will consume both the item that you put in and the items shown in this window, generally again consisting of souls. Afterwards, you are spit back one of the items that is shown on this side of the screen. There is no knowing which of these items you could get back, however, meaning that for the most part it is left all to the RNG gods for whatever you get back, but it must come from this list. You might ask why someone might want to use this system, and primarily it's to re-roll what type of item you have into something else. It can quite possibly take an item that is considered useless and make it into a coveted item, just like that. Now if you just wanted to know what it was, that's about all the explanation you really need. But for the remainder of this video, I'm going to be going into the exact intricacies of how everything is determined and how to get the most out of it. And let me just warn you, this system, while theoretically really abusive, is extremely consuming of materials. Even people at the end game like me are at a loss of materials trying to use this system too much. Proceed to despair at your own risk. You've been warned. So I mentioned these soul things that you need to use this system. Well, after Reborn, you now get a new item every time that you use a disassembler on your equipment. You'll get back an appropriate number of souls depending on the rarity of the equipment that you put in. Each item rarity from common to legendary have a soul associated with it. In a way, these souls work identical to the cube system you already know, and there's a convenient tab here that keeps track of them for your account. Sadly, unlike cubes, the souls are untradeable and bound to account. So you can't just buy souls from the auction house. You'll need to disassemble your own stash of souls. Now, like any system in this game, there are rules to it, and they are not readily explained very much. Most everything I know is just from trying it, but I'll show you how compound works. Compound begins only after you offer up an item to use as a catalyst. This item is actually the most important part of the system, because it's what you put in that determines the possible items that you can get back out of the system. All the traits of the items are important, except its quality. For example, I have here a rare level 80 ring that is sealed. If I put this item into the compound system, you can see that my range of items that I can get back are quite small. In fact, I have a possibility of 4 different items, and it's with this example I'll explain how these items are chosen. Only 3 item rarities are eligible: rare, unique, and legendary. The item rarity of the generated item can only be equal in grade to whatever you put in. So if you put in a legendary item, you only get back legendary items as well. There are some exceptions, however. Rares that are used in compound have a very small chance to upgrading to a legacy, which is why those legacy rings showed up in our example. Oddly enough, rare legacies can only generate other rare legacies. Uniques and unique legacies, also known as halidums, do not work like this, however, and are freely interchangeable between the two. The item level is a bit misleading, because using the compound system can generate a new item that is either the same level or 5 levels higher than the item you put in. Obviously, this is so that you can upgrade items strictly using souls. In our example, that shows why we're only able to get level 80 or 85 rings. The seal is retained on whatever gear that you put into it, so if you put in an item that is unsealed or untradeable, it simply means that it will stay that way after compounding. Same thing with if the item is sealed. Lastly, and most importantly, the equipment slot will always be the same slot. So in this case, if I put in a ring, only rings show up here. If instead we're talking about weapons, and I put in a katana, I can only get other katanas back out. However, there are one of 2 check marks here at the bottom of the window that I can choose. The one on the left retains my same equipment slot. However, if I hit the randomize button, you can immediately see that the left window gets enormous as to how many different items I can get now. Don't be confused, however. all of the previous rules still apply, except with a now completely randomized equipment slot. Randomizing the equipment slot in this manner can take a useless item that you have and potentially create it into something incredibly good, but obviously your odds are pretty dang low with this many items in the pool. If you're looking for a specific item, you'll have a massively higher chance if it's an item in the same equipment slot. The required items needed for the compound are determined by other factors instead that I don't really want to get into great detail about. Just know that item rarity and level range play a large role in it. Once you go past rare items, things start getting really expensive in terms of what items you need. You'll even need more things that aren't even souls, such as high-grade elemental crystals, and a lot of them. As mentioned before, the type selection can be used to determine whether you want to stay in the same equipment slot or randomize it. If you choose random, your required item cost is drastically reduced, which may be preferable depending on the situation. The compound system is pretty restrictive with what items you can put into it. This is mostly due to the change in the item schemes from before the Reborn patch, and most items obtained afterwards are generally free game. Though if you're confused as to why some of your items don't work, let me go over all of them. Because it's no longer possible to get unique magic sealed equipment in this version of the game, you can't use them in the compound system. Boss uniques, or the uniques you buy with meteors, are also ineligible for this system. Now, the newly introduced Halidom equipment is a little bit confusing. You are not allowed to use converted Halidom equipment. That means whenever you use a scroll to create a Halidom equipment, either sold by Seria or those dropped in dungeons, you are not allowed to use those Halidom equipment. However, if a Halidom gear drops in dungeon, that's fair game, whether or not it's sealed or untradeable. As far as I can tell, there's no way to distinguish the difference between the two, so I guess just try it if you're confused as to which one you have. Legendaries are pretty restricted as well. The quest legendaries that Luther's selling don't work at all, and also if you have an old legendary from before the Reborn patch that is below level 85, those ones won't work either. You'll need to upgrade them to level 85 before they are eligible to be used. Lastly, event or scaling items won't work, as well as some quest-only items such as your Helcarium weapon and other accessories from quests. And as far as I know, that's about the list of items that won't work in the compound system. Everything else I've seen generally works. And with that, I think I've covered just about everything there is to know about Seria's new compound system. So as a recap of everything that we went over, we talked a little bit about what compounding was and why you might want to use it. We discussed what souls are and how you can get them. We talked about the rules of Seria's compound and how to determine what items that you can potentially get from it. And finally, we discussed what kinds of items don't work in the compound system. Like I've said, this system has the potential to give you back sweet items for very little cost. I got this unique level 85 light damage magic stone from a useless level 80 magic stone that I just had lying around, but I'd be damned if it didn't take me a whole lot of materials and souls to do it. Again, attempt this system at your own peril. But anyway guys, thanks for watching, hope this video has helped you, and I will catch you knights later.